Sign in, get a snack, take a seat.
Warm up.
My name is Howie Burke. I'm the Executive Director of the Illinois Disability Association, and the Chicago Volunteer Legal Services and the Illinois Disability Association have partnered to offer a series of continuing legal education seminars and guardianships with a focus on persons with disabilities. This series is a part of a collaboration between the Cdls and the Illinois Disability Association to expand and enhance pro bono services to low-income persons with disabilities and their guardians. The next, you can mark down on your calendar, the next presentation in this series will be on March 18th. It will be on special needs trusts. The Illinois Disability Association is the creator and co-trustee of something called the Illinois Disability Pool Trust. We provide trust services for both self-settled and third-party settled special needs trusts. Our co-trustee and host today is the private bank, who's been extraordinarily magnificent since we moved over here in 2012. They offer a full range of financial services, of fiduciary services, both investments, guardianship, and trust services. And at this juncture, I want to turn it over to Peter.
Thanks, Howie. I just wanted to welcome you all and thank Howie and Vita, our speaker today, and the private bank. Also wanted to alert you to a few upcoming CDLS seminars. On the 24th, we've got a Pro Bono for Young Professionals seminar. It's going to be conducted by our CVLS Junior Board. That's going to be back at the CVLS office at 33 North Dearborn, Suite 400. On Wednesday, the 25th at CVLS, we're going to have a minor GAL training. The topic will be an overview of mental illness. Some of that might apply to you all here that are interested in adult GAL work. And then on March 17th, we're going to have a presentation, our annual presentation on personal tax preparation by Larry Krupp, and that's at the CVLS office also. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Vita Cruz. Thank you, Vita.
Okay. So my speech now is actually not in quite going to be where on the same page as, so to speak, with the outline, but we'll see what you can do. I kind of revised my speech a little bit. The disclaimer is that I'm not a GAL in guardianship proceedings. I never have been, but I have been practicing up on the 18th floor for 20 years now in a bunch of different roles, and I've worked with a lot of GALs, and I've seen a lot of interesting cases, and I have a lot of opinions about, you know, what a good GAL should be and what maybe some of the things that I wouldn't like to see. And so today I'll mainly be talking about post-adjudication GAL appointments in adult guardianships, but a lot, because I haven't been involved with initial petitions for guardianship for a while now, but a lot of those same concepts apply to both situations. So when I think, it's funny for me when I see the term guardian ad litem, when I think about it, when I went to law school, I wanted to be a public defender, and very first, or was like orientation that we had in law school, and we were supposed to talk to the person next to us about what they wanted to be. She said, well, I want to represent abused children as a guardian ad litem. And I thought, wow, like, what the heck is that? Never, I mean, just that seemed like so unusual to me, and like, you know, kind of neat is there for that? You know, little did I know that I would be, a couple of years later, I've been working for the Cook County Public Guardian's Office for Patrick Murphy, and that there were, you know, tens of thousands of children who were abused and neglected that were in the juvenile court system and I would be one of those attorneys. So I started at the Public Guardian's Office in 1992, really at a time when the system was in a huge crisis. There were consent decrees that have been entered requiring more DCFS workers and more guardian ad litems because the system just was so overloaded. And, so I was there during a time of change. Thinking back to those days as guardian ad litem in juvenile court, one of the whole time that I was there really profoundly affected, the kind of work that I like to do, and how you go about advocating for someone who can't protect themselves, and how I go about decision making and problem solving. And I was thinking back to those days in juvenile court, and one of the things that happened while I was there was the Joseph Wallace case, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with that or remember that case, but I was, so I was working for Patrick Murphy as a guardian at that time, and in 1993, Joseph Wallace was a 3-year-old child who was murdered by his mother, and it happened after the court had returned the child to the mother's custody. And it was just a very tragic situation, and a lot of media attention throughout the country, to be honest, and for quite and that was a case that was in my courtroom, and I knew the attorneys involved, and it was a very devastating situation. The mother in the case, had a severe chronic psychiatric disorder. She was schizophrenic. There was a long history of this, but somehow all of this didn't make it on to the decision makers that were making this decision in 1993 to return. I don't want to, simplify a really complex situation here, but, at least two things kind of that experience in juvenile court in general, history of your case. I think here that, there were some big files that maybe didn't get looked at, and didn't see that this woman had a very severe psychiatric history, and she had hospitalized many times for trying to hurt herself or others. And then also that you can't always trust the professionals involved, because the professionals here were recommending, that the mother was okay and she was receiving treatment, but it really, there wasn't a comprehensive view. But staying in juvenile court for 3.5 years, and then I transferred to the Cook County Public Guardian's Office Adult Guardianship Division in 1995. And that's with the Office of the Public Guardian, we did everything there. They do everything there. Financial exploitation cases, elder abuse cases, just, we see all the dysfunctional families, the end-of-life decision-making, estate planning, dead bodies in the basement, maybe a dead pet, condemned houses, the whole gamut. And so again, that's when I really started working up in 1995 in the probate court, and since that time have worked with a lot of guardian ad litems and seen a lot of cases, go in the wrong direction. Now I've been working with the Pool Trust since 2004. We all have background with the Cook County Public Guardian's Office, the Adult Division. Howard started the trust after seeing a need for our clients over at the Public Guardian's Office that continue to go to guardianship court and work with the Public Guardian's Office. Have many cases here that even if they're not public guardian cases, where a lot of the same type of issues are, come up. So that's my background. Yes, I was gonna. What I wanted to talk about today is really that to impress upon everyone who's volunteering to be a guardian ad litem just how it's a big deal. to be a guardian ad litem is really a very important role, and everyone, I hope, enjoys doing the work that they do, and I hope you're excited about it, because I can't say enough about how I've seen a good guardian ad litem affect positive. I'm going to give you some suggestions on how to approach an investigation, and how to maybe some tips for how to write a good report, or some things that I've seen that's not so great. Just again, emphasize that there's no doubt about it, that the judges are depending on you. When things are a mess, there's 8 attorneys at the bench. Who's the judge going to listen to? They really depend on the guardian ad litem to clear things up, to give the reasoned decision. The opinion of the guardian ad litem are given a lot of weight in guardianship court. You have a really great opportunity there to influence the proceedings in a positive. I think being very thorough and approach it, and I was happy to see. I asked Peter for some of the training material. Items at Cdls, and I looked at some of the videos and his the outline, and the checklist of what a government. Really pleased to see that Cdls is training the pro bono attorneys to be extremely thorough and methodical, and check into everything. It's exactly the way that I would hope. The gold standard. It's so those materials, I think they're very important that they have on the Cdls website. No question that you're better off, even though those checklists might be long, you're better off doing as much as you can, because exactly those are all the things that need to be covered. But not everybody. I haven't always seen everything go so smoothly. Let's say that. Preparing for this, I was thinking to a case that I had when I was with the Public Guardian's Office. There was a cross petition, and guardian ad litem appointed. The board was very, she stage Alzheimer's, and she was kind of pleasantly demented. She didn't, she was able to get around, but she didn't know what necessarily who people were, and she was married. And the husband wasn't able to be guardian because he also had some medical issues and perhaps early Alzheimer's, but the public guardian was petitioning for, sisters were cross-petitioning to be co-guardians. And the guardian ad litem, I remember the hearing that was really not about, was agreed that she should be adjudicated. It was just who was going to be the guardian. And the kind of the tension there was the sisters didn't like the husband, and they didn't, they were basically going to move the ward out of a West Side nursing home up to an Evanston nursing home. It would have been almost impossible for the husband to visit his wife. And I remember clearly the guardian ad litem in this case was, testifying that was kind of irrelevant. That so it was no big deal if the husband could visit or not, because the ward had all. Judge, I remember thinking, ooh, that, I can't believe he's recommending that he's taking that position, and that I remember the judge in the findings for the case, really kind of had guardian ad litem to task and was like, you kind of. I don't know how you could dismiss the importance of the husband visiting the wife, and that the personnel and the case manager that the wife, even though she maybe didn't know his name anymore, but she knew him, and that was a positive thing. And this I really don't ever remember seeing anything like that since, thankfully. I think most of the time the GALs are on the mark, but I guess I'm, thinking here that sometimes it's not about the black and the white or the or whatever. There's this area where you got to kind of, you're looking at the ward's best interest, and you want to empathize with the ward. All right, let's see what's going on. All right. So, you definitely have a duty to meet the ward, and interestingly, even in a case where it might seem routine, you can learn a lot about meeting the ward, seeing their appearance, seeing the living conditions. And thinking of a case that we had where, for example, it was a PI case, and nobody really saw fit to mention that, until Litem went out to see the ward, that the ward was 430 pounds, he's 16 years old, he was in a wheelchair, severely developmentally delayed, with maybe like a cognitive ability of a 2-year-old. Child was not going to school, child wasn't going to the doctor's appointment, child wasn't even, he wasn't even able to get out of the apartment because it was not an appropriate living situation. This was a family, the guardian mother was just living on SSI, and they didn't have the correct kind of apartment, so he couldn't even get out of the apartment. But none of that was, really known until somebody went, the guardian ad litem went out and saw what the situation was, and was able to kind of bring this to the court's attention, get a case manager involved, battle with Chicago Public Schools to make sure that this child, well, first of all, they had to get a new apartment, and then trying to get him to school was a whole big thing because, well, they didn't have a ramp at the school, and so the guardian ad litem actually had to, go to the IEP and, go toe-to-toe with CPS and make sure that they built a ramp so there could be wheelchair accessibility and transportation that was appropriate because not every bus or handicapped accessible vehicle was appropriate for his size, to be honest. So there was a lot of specialized things that kind of came out of just even, in this case, it wasn't like the board could talk or anything, but just observing the situation, going out to the home. There was, so much that came from that. So generally, with your home visits, I say kind of probably interview the ward or the alleged disabled person without the caregiver present, because you don't want some sort of undue influence. You don't know if that person is going to be honest. Comfortable speaking in front of, so if you can interview the petitioner / guardian, the caregiver, family members, safety, who else is living in the home for home, they're living off of grandma or whatever, and they're not contributing. The court will want to know that. There's a lot of different situations you can run into. In rare case, you may even need to call the abuse hotline or 911. I mean, if the situation warrants. You've got to be prepared for just about anything. Most of this, it happen, but once in a while, that can happen, and checklist. I'm on the checklist page, finally. Go into the home, check to make sure the locks and security are appropriate. Are there smoke detectors? Is the ward able to get out in case of emergency? Space heaters, are they, a dangerous type of thing? Air conditioning. Actually, I'm going to ask Howard when I was going over this presentation and we were talking about air conditioning, and he was saying, yeah, something as mundane as an air conditioner can be so significant, and he was actually involved with that changed them. You want to talk about that?
Well,
Come here, Howie. Here.
I don't know if everybody's old enough to remember 1995, the summer of 1995, where it was over 900 elderly persons in the city died, and it was the hypothesis was that it was correlated to the heat and no air conditioning. And I was also an attorney at the Cook County Public Guardian's Office then, and then it really became a sensitive issue every time we did a home visit, that we would ensure that Vita's checklist had been affected, and that the proper infrastructure was in place. And that led ultimately to the year 2000. I headed up a CBA committee, International Year of the Older Person, and we did a draft city ordinance requiring all nursing homes in the city of Chicago to have air conditioning units, and most of them, about half of them, did not. And that ordinance was approved, and I think in 2002 it was then required to have air conditioning in every nursing home in the city of Chicago. Part A, and then Part B, the state of Illinois followed suit, and the state of Illinois decided to do away with a very complicated formula in terms of humidity level and air movement in any given nursing home, and we're then required throughout the state of Illinois to have air conditioning in all nursing homes. And again, I guess the point is that it's not always about the spectacular reason why you're there. If there's initial allegations of abuse or neglect, and you're going out there to investigate them, it could be just the mundane things could have equal importance in terms of the quality of life of that individual.
Yeah, I mean, so I have some other things on the checklist. It's really, even with the initial appointment, just seeing what the living situation is, the assessment, that might be the only time that the court actually gets someone who's independent out there to see, what the ward's living situation is. So, yes, are the utilities working? Is there appropriate wheelchair accessibility? Is the house outside, are there broken windows or lack of security if you walk around outside and see some problems? Of course, the appearance of the ward. I mean, you're interviewing the ward, but as I mentioned, the extremely obese ward that we had, but also, is the ward being groomed? Is the hygiene appropriate? A lot of things you can tell from that too. What are the medication that the ward is taking? Is there adequate food in the house? There are stacks of bills and documents sitting around. I mean, ask if you could look through this stuff, but I mean, I know it from Public Guardian, when we would go into homes, we'd find all sorts of, we'd find out maybe the house was tax deed on it or something. There's all sorts of things you could find out that. Nursing home visit's a little different. You're supposedly, the long-term care, the ward's getting all this care at, either through Medicaid or private pay, and you'd hope everything would be, the care would be great, but I'm going to argue that's not the case. That there's a lot of problems with the long-term care system, and careful, use that opportunity also to, when making a nursing home visit, to kind of assess, is this nursing home not tracking here for me, but so, you know, comments, unfortunately, there are a lot of life-threatening problems that are in the board. Bed sores, over-medication, falls, use of restraints that are inappropriate. Those are things that you want to check out. You can also look, what I recommend is checking out Medicare.gov. That website so it's Medicare.gov, and it's all the nursing homes in the United States are reviewed there. They're given a rating and then you can also see what complaints there have been in the state of Illinois, and kind of can get a lot of times you can get a sense of how the nursing home is doing. And some of the stuff on that website is shocking. Even for a nursing home that may seem like it's, oh, it's very fancy or whatever, you'd be surprised the type of things that you come up with on that website. So you can access really any nursing home from that website. When you're there, you want to review the board's chart, medical chart, talk to the floor nurse, maybe the director of nursing. If you happen to be visiting someone in a psych facility, talk to the psych nurse. Again, just that opportunity to see maybe the guardian is well-meaning and thinks the nursing home is doing what it's supposed to do, but you may be able to find some things that you could urge the guardian to address to be a better advocate, or if there are funds, maybe have meet the guardian, the proposed guardian, evaluating whether that person is appropriate. Care plan, see if you can get that. Ask for a budget. Where are the funds being spent? I know that Cdls doesn't get case money, probably just Social Security, but where's that Social Security going? It's sometimes there's a lack of accountability for that. And again, other people living in the home, are they contributing, or are they just kind of freeloading it? There are many well-meaning guardians who just, because of lack of sophistication or lack of education, they may need some guidance, and I think you're in a good position to in that regard. They see something that they may not see as a problem, but you're developing this expertise as you're doing this, and you have great. I was thinking about a situation we have at the trust where we did have, it's up now, but this particular, he does have money, and the guardian, I had through the years, I did have a lot of contact with the guardian. I would always say the ward doesn't need anything, the ward doesn't need anything, and to be honest, it was the court that finally said, this doesn't make any sense to me, and so a little bit more investigation into what was going on. Well, the ward was living at Howe Developmental Treatment Center, which she had been there for years. The guardian, she was very happy with the Howe placement, but at the same time that she was happy with the Howe placement for her sister, there were other people that were bringing all the problems at Howe Developmental Treatment Center to the Tribune, and eventually Governor Quinn formed a commission and launched an investigation into the facility because there were a lot of unusual deaths at the facility for people with severe developmental disabilities. So our client, by the time the guardian ad litem went out, she was already going to be transitioned to a new placement. Good thing. When she got to the new placement, it was like a year or so. She didn't really care about her sister. She was surprised at the new placement that her sister was actually able to know how long my understanding is that she's been at Howe Developmental Treatment Center for years. They weren't apparently giving her the right therapy, because within the year that she went to this new facility, they were able to get her out of her wheelchair and do some walking. And so, I mean, very frightening prospect. And again, just needed some guidance to usual, because it was to a different placement, but so there's, again, with situation where someone has money and need anything, that's not the view that we have here at the trust. We find usually you can find something. And so we always kind of are probing that. Families may not be aware of technologies like assisted technology for nonverbal words. They may have always just known their sister or brother to have been someone who couldn't communicate, but now there's new technology out there that could actually assist them, and maybe you would want to bring up that subject. So my theme, I guess one of my themes here is trust but verify. There's I guess I've just seen so many guardianships go bad, sitting, either being involved with on the 18th floor or just seeing these cases up on the 18th floor, that I think it's not a bad idea to kind of be a sleuth, be a detective, try to maybe sniff out trouble, if you will, to make sure everything is okay, because again, as a guardian ad litem, you're an advocate, usual position with support, so take advantage of it. I also things like with a guardian, if you have a case that you're working on, guardian on an ongoing basis, does the guardian follow through with recommendations? We definitely have had cases and does not follow through on recommendation. That could be a red. Maybe that's why you're even getting appointed. The case that I'm thinking of that we had here, the guardian was definitely always talking about, well, it's a SILA where her word was, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, he looks terrible, he didn't have appropriate shoes on. And there was actually a case manager involved who said, well, you need to call the SILA director, or you need to call the PATH agent, or, made all these suggestions, and nothing ever happened. And then we went to court, and then she had a chance to, the judge was going to give her another chance for the guardian to follow through on recommendations. Eventually, she agreed to resign. She was she was actually a non-relative. She was a foster parent of this person, but she wasn't appropriate. Same thing when, if a guardian says, oh, well, yeah, the ward is in a day program, or the ward does X, Y, and Z, or they get backup written material to verify that it's not always the case. done your homework and you can, that verify that it's what, in fact, the guardian is saying is true, and that they are involved with all these things, you're in great shape. You could even contact, get a release and contact the day program and see what they think about how the ward is doing. Suspicious things, and again, I know that you don't money, but just things that we see here, the Martha, who, the kids, the adult kids were sending in these receipts for reimbursement, and I'm like, I just don't think Martha's wearing a string bikini here. And that was actually on her. Unfortunately, Martha is like 65 years old, bedridden with MS, and there was a, purchase, and so we called the social worker and we said, is Martha, she's moving anywhere? And no. But actually the social worker was able to kind of, oh yeah, the kids come here and they're always kind of trying to shake down Martha for some cash that she's got on. Her assets are really in the trust, but maybe she's got the $30 a month. And a year later, comes Christmas time, the son bought Martha a 48-inch TV, for the nursing home. You're thinking, oh. You have a 48-inch TV in your room right now? Nope. Same TV that's been there, and, things that just don't make sense. And I'd say, take a question, the court, in Litem's hands. You're the eyes and ears of the court. That's the only way that the court's really going to find out what's going on out there from a third party who doesn't have appointed post-adjudication. You want to take a look at the order. And if you happen to be there when you're appointed, I guess you could ask for clarification on what exactly the judge wants you to do, or maybe if you're, make multiple appearances, make it clear in the order what you're supposed to be investigating, what the expectations are. I think when you make recommendations, got to be as concrete as possible. When you come back and you have a report and you're talking to the court, I don't think, I've seen situations where guardian ad litem get all out there, and then don't have a conclusion, and the judges, so what are you recommending? And I've heard some guardian ad litem judges don't like that. They want, if you can make a recommendation, make the recommendation. If you need more information, then you'd want to bring that to the judge's attention. A written report, I don't always see that on the 18th floor. I'm taken to make a good, written, thorough report. Not actually a guardian ad litem report, but I guess I have seen some guardian ad litem reports like this. I'm just going to read a little thing here. Case manager is talking about visiting someone at Estella, and she says, Scott showed me his room, which he shares with another resident. They have 2 sheets that divide the room so they can have their own space. Scott has a bear's blanket on his twin bed. He uses sheets for drapes. He has a tendency to be rough on his furniture. The nightstand drawer was hanging off, blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on for almost 2 pages of this description. And this was something that was filed with the court. Now, again, this is not a guardian ad litem, but you don't know where this person's going on this. I mean, there's like a lot of detail there, but what's the takeaway? What is she trying to say? I mean, I'm reading this thing, like, is it okay? Is it not okay? Is it bad? I mean, be clear. Make a conclusion. run down, but, you know, the staff is promises that it's going to be fixed in X amount of time. Told me whatever, you know, on the other hand, I have an old kind of quote. Very good, very helpful, because we became involved with the case, minors, the state. We became involved with the case years later, and we were trying to figure out what was going on. And here's what filed on. In light of this is what the GAL from Cdls wrote. In light of mom's transportation problems, the GAL communicated with her solely by telephone and found the mom to be rather uncooperative in answering questions and providing documentation. Deceptive about the living situation as well as her income. But to that was court eventually got for the trust. But just those couple words about, you know, mom was deceptive, the mom wasn't forthcoming, she was uncooperative. I mean, just the way that's written is very helpful to get a sense of who this person is. Also did is made the recommendation no, a car should not be purchased as the mom is requesting, but the guardian of Litem investigated alternative transportation and found out that, you know, there could be a voucher system with Yellow Cab, and how much that would cost for the mom to be able to transport the medical appointments. And so this guardian of Litem went the extra step, you know, trying to find, you know, not just saying, no, this car purchase shouldn't happen, but also like, well, how are we going to solve this problem? We still have this problem where the kid can't get to the medical appointment. And, you know, went the extra mile and came up with a great solution, which is something we happen to use over here. We use cab vouchers at our trust. You know, you guys are asked to do a lot of things and put in maybe some situations that are outside your field of expertise, which is uncomfortable. Again, talk to your Cdls supervisors. You know, they have so much knowledge, and, you know, been practicing for so long and have great suggestions. If there's funds, a case manager is a great thing to have. Need a specialized evaluation, psychiatric. If you don't, I say, you know, you can access free experts. You know, I don't know if you're going to be able to get a hold of a doctor, but you can always try. Talk to the nursing home social workers, I think. Get releases so you can talk to a therapist. Talk to the nurses or director of nursing. Other thoughts I have about being your own expert. Trust, special needs trust. That's what we do here. If you want to try to become an expert, come next month to hear the next seminar. Join a CBA committee, like elder law committee. So, and I verified this with public guardian people. Office of the Public Guardian is willing to take calls. You know, they'd rather have, maybe you bounce it off your supervisors first. There's some very tricky situation. One of the intake attorneys there said she was guardianship and advocacy, which is the parent agency of the Office of the State Guardian, also Their intake will answer a lot of questions. The thought is that if a guardian ad litem is on a case and has some problems, they'd rather, assist the guardian ad litem than get have a petition show up saying Office of the State Guardian is nominated as, they'd rather try to find the answers to the question. So the intake would take the question and then, talk to various attorneys. And as I said, nursing homes, there's a lot of problems in nursing homes. There are resources out there that can tell you what to look for at a nursing home, what typical problems. Illinois Citizens for Better Care, they have, I'm not sure how great they are at returning phone calls, but they have a very good website with a lot of resources, and they do have, I did notice that they have some topics in long-term care. They have, actually they were But for Equality is another agency very pro rights of the disabled person, and they all with the ward, or the ward, they will answer some questions about, or they might.
We don't use them as GALs, but
No, but I mean, you're by them. I guess they might be willing to. They do a lot of work in that area with. Freedom for the ward or for. I think that the attorneys up in probate are very friendly, and I think, especially if you're a pro bono guardian ad litem and you have questions, if you're, you can talk to the people on the 18th floor. They really love this work. They've been doing it for a long time, and I'm happy to have you bounce ideas. That's in summary. Do an important job, and it means a lot, and the court depends upon you, and that opportunity. Go the extra mile, if there are issues, bring to the court's attention, obviously. Be an advocate for the ward. Educate the guardian if you need to. Guide the guardian. Maybe file a citation, make a referral to a psychiatrist or a case manager with a psych hospitalization, or call the elder abuse hotline. Very important work, and I appreciate that you guys are volunteering. And sure.
Independent experts. One of the judges, Associate Judge Carolyn Quinn, I asked, already a doctor's report I was representing. He had to go to Judge Coghlan to see how this gets somebody. Then the client decided he
obviously that's not.
I don't know how new. She's very knowledgeable about the statute, but there has to be they don't know what general way of doing things is on the 18th floor. They have might go up to Judge Evans if it's something.
Back in the back.
Yeah, Vita, I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Question, just so that I can repeat it for the
Thank you.
camera, is suggestions when there's problems accessing medical records at a nursing care facility, residential facility.
I'm surprised that you had that question, because you're with on-hand law, and they're top on that. So I don't have the answer. Does anybody else have any suggestions on that one?
I mean, the only suggestion I would have is to, maybe we should, I haven't seen an appointment of a GAL order in a long time, but that the order should contemplate language as it relates to HIPAA, and that the court is authorizing you to, explicit language authorizing you to access GAL order that.
Well, so when I've had trouble with that, we've actually gone back to court with a prepared order that has HIPAA language in it, authorizing them to, even though the court has... Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Right. And I've got some language I can share with you if you like it, yeah. It doesn't, and generally, you don't even know that there's a problem when you have that order, when that order's entered, because it's entered prior to you knowing you've got the case, really, even.
Right.
And generally the judges don't know what the case is dealing with at that point.
But that's with
I've had success with,
after.
yeah, I've had success going back to the judge saying, look, there's a problem with disclosure here, can I just have an order? And sometimes I'll talk to their legal counsel, like you suggest, and ask them if they have any particular language that they would like. And generally the judges are pretty helpful entertaining that kind of notion, you know, to get an order entered with specific language that's going to satisfy their legal counsel and get you HIPAA protected documents.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions online? I don't have any, it doesn't look like. Anybody else here? If we could make this a few more minutes longer, you'll get 3/4 of an hour of CLE and not just 30 minutes.
I don't know.
So.
I don't have a...
Anyone?
I guess a couple of additional thoughts. One is that just a shout out to Equip for Equality. They primarily do impact litigation, so they're going to do, you know, lawsuits against CTA in terms of accessibility, but they're also going to do Olmstead litigation, so maximizing independence for persons with disabilities in the community, and filing suits against different state agencies to reconfigure their bias towards institutional placement and using those same funds to affect a community placement. That's what you'll see often. But they're also good in terms of a potential more practical resource for you. Is they're pretty good at mediation. So they have a lot of experience, for example, with dealing with condominium associations or some institutional, let's say, the bias potentially for maybe the person with disabilities, but maybe the person with disabilities is also, you know, not configuring well with the community there. They have a lot of experience in kind of mediating those types of situations. And an additional thought in terms of Steve's question about expert resources, I don't know that they do this anymore, but the judges episodically, I saw, would tap the medical resources at the Cermak Hospital at the Cook County Jail, and so just because they're on the payroll, and so episodic, every once in a while I saw how they were able to refer a psychic assessment to a doctor at Cermak.
I've seen referrals by the judges to the Cook County Forensic Clinical Services to do those. When there are two competing CCP 211s, they will refer a case to the Administrative Office of the Illinois Courts that will retain an attorney to not necessarily create their own CCP 211, but adopt one of the two competing as his or her own, rendering a third opinion. And then a shout out to Center for Conflict Resolution. They also mediate and do a fine job when you've got cross petitioners and these easier than expected, and usually it's a
comment about something that I haven't been doing until problem, but I like your idea. Get a written proposed care plan from for the return date. The issue with Cdls cases is these generally petitioning pro se, and it's a little awkward to tell them word for word how to write a proposed care plan.
The comment was, it's a good idea to get a written care plan by a potential guardian, especially pro se guardian, going into the hearing. CDL is aware of the care plan, and the judge can be a little bit more clear on the plan.
I was thinking that, yeah, you may not get the care plan from someone who just can't put it together. But at least you're getting a baseline. You're going to be aware of that even though you've discussed it at length, the guardian does not have that level of sophistication. Guardians who just don't understand that are yesterday, where no attorney left anymore. Maybe the attorney wasn't a probate attorney. The guardian does not understand, probably because maybe they had the original attorney wasn't familiar with probate. That's part of it, but the guardian doesn't understand it. And because we're coming up with trust accounting, then the judges say to us, well, can you reach out to this guardian and request a report on word? And, once in a while we do get guardians who just are kind of put out by why they don't understand at all. And the statutory language and say, no, this is your duty, and you got to fill the word is still involved here. So. Official case, reminding the guardians of that continuing problem. I see it, not just in our. Yeah, but just scary place to be up on the 18th floor if you're a relative, a layperson, and you don't, being able to comprehend all this stuff that the you. I'm amazed sometimes. I think, gosh, that there's no. It's not like there's a playbook for the guardians and training, but it doesn't look like. happen, but I mean, I wish there was more guidance for guardians, so we see so many things kind of fall.
A lot of misguidance from attorneys. There are volunteers on the 12th floor. As GAL for C to unravel the hope I'm not stepping on toes of people who are here.
Just like to be attorneys, but the rest, I don't even think that most of them have repeated out of this room. There are some training gaps.
So for those of you at home, the general idea behind that was that sometimes GALs have to help petitioners kind of through the process. Anything else? And educate the petitioners along the way. So I think that's part of the GAL's job as well. Anything else? I don't see anybody online with any questions. That's it. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vita. Appreciate it.